Buckeyes lost.
Oh.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Welcome to the show. Buckeyes lost a recruit, huh?
Yeah. Ryan Day, what happened? Well, all right. Welcome to Cut Ups Film Review, episode 12.2. We're going to be breaking down the second half of Michigan and Ohio State. As Toski was mentioning, Justin Scott has flipped from Ohio State to Miami. Just surprising that, I don't even want to get into it. Whatever. The graphic literally has a bag of cash in it, or like a stack of cash. Yes, there's a stack of cash, and then like he's holding the hurricane flag, so there's wind, so there's like $100 bills blowing in the wind in the graphic.
Oh my gosh, that is perfect.
Which isn't even the funniest part of the graphic, because it also has an ACC championship trophy, which Miami has played in the game once, never won in the 20 years, and then a college football playoff trophy as well.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, of those three things, I'm sure he'll get the cash at least. But
sure.
Anyway, well, maybe we'll see. It's Miami. Hey, see what's it's just so good. And then Jim Knowles is a finalist for Duke, and
there's lots of things happening.
It's so fun. I've been watching little clips of their podcast that losing their mind. It's so great. So,
oh man.
And why are they losing their mind? Segue.
Here we go. Second half. We got a lot of clips. We're gonna have to go quick. All right. So let's dive in.
Get going.
Let's get it started.
McCarthy throwing on first down. Underneath, he's got his man. It's Loveland, turns it up.
Did you know that this is Colston Loveland, who is not a consensus first team All-American, dusting the linebacker of the year in the conference and Tommy Eichenberg?
Weird.
All right. So anyway, this is
we're feeling petty tonight.
We're feeling petty. We're already there. This is a matchup that, like you said, Michigan, I think you mentioned 6 times they went to
6.
Yep. They went to tight ends. They felt like this was a matchup that they could win, and they won it pretty consistently every time they went to it. It's a tough matchup for any linebacker. I don't care who you are. This feels like a similar play. Remember Blake Corum against Iowa? I think it was last year. Or maybe it was, I think it was against Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell got dusted in open space. And Jack Campbell's an excellent linebacker. And I'm not calling Tommy Eichenberg a bad linebacker, but he looks pedestrian here, right? This is a great use case of how to get your athletes in space. There's nothing special. This is the first read. Just go out, chill here. You're going to have to force Eichenberg to move in space and then just use the skill set that Colston Loveland is best at. He's just a slippery guy. He is one of the best tight ends in the country.
Idaho's best.
Idaho grown. So this is simple, right? And I love that they went right off the bat, right at the start of the second half, and they went right to him. And that's a big gain. This is like, when I was clipping this up, I'm like, should I include this? This isn't like that big of a gain. But then you realize it's 1st and 10, and he gets to the 40. That's a 22-yard pickup right there. That's a big chunk play. And you don't think it's a big chunk play because it's completed 4 yards, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. But that's what having a Colston Loveland type athlete on your team can do. It creates that matchup, and then he's able to accelerate to get well beyond what you would expect a tight end to be able to get on this play. So this is why everyone is so excited about him. That's why he got playing time last year. That's why he should have been consensus first team all conference. And he's got another year that he's guaranteed to be in a Wolverine uniform. So just a guy being a dude.
And just real quick, the reason we're picking on Eichenberg so much, to give him the award is just such a, like, people looking for big names. Okay, fine. Pro Football Focus rated him the 32nd linebacker in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think Barrett should have gotten it. You want to say I'm biased? Fine. Dominic DeLuca at Penn State, Kobe King at Penn State, Muhammad Toure at Rutgers, Colson, even another guy at Michigan you could have thrown in there, Abdul Carter, another guy at Penn State. Like, there's just other dudes, and it's just lazy, and it's frustrating.
It is.
So,
yep. Yeah. And I had a tweet about it at the end of the day, the NFL draft will tell you all you need to know. The NFL scouts, sure, they get things wrong, but more than anything, the things that will make you a successful player is what the NFL scouts will be looking at, and it is what will make your team successful. And that's what matters for Michael Bear. That's what matters for Colson Loveland. And ultimately, that's what matters in their career. These awards, while it sometimes looks great and it's, I'm sure very rewarding for some of these players, it ultimately doesn't mean much in their career progression. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, moving on. 1st and 10 here after that pickup.
Mullings at running back. Here's Orji. He'll run it himself. And Orji with the seam. Orji down the sideline.
I'm going to be bold here. I predicted this was going to happen against Penn State. In the episode of Cut Ups, a solo episode, I was like, we're going to see the Orji package. I thought it was coming against Penn State. They left it in the cupboard until this game. And you see just a natural stride here out of Orji. He accelerates in a way where it takes everyone off guard. And we've heard all offseason, this is one of Michigan's best athletes. He's going to return punts, kickoffs, everything. And then they just kept him on the shelf until this moment, right? So would I have liked to see him throughout the year a little bit more? Yeah, absolutely I would. But it's a fun time to bring this out, right? And especially while JJ McCarthy is getting back to full health, I don't buy that he's completely 100%. This is a good way to get another guy involved here. And I love the patience. This is a nice patient run where this isn't the cleanest exchange here on the pull. You have Keegan blocking here. You have to wait a minute for Ladarius Henderson, I believe this is, get over here past that block. And Orji patiently waits and then busts through that seam and makes Eichenberg miss just through his sheer speed. So this is a great patient run, hits the hole when he needs to, has the speed to evade the linebacker, and the safety is pretty surprised. He takes an initial angle. I think this angle shows a little bit better. 41 here. He's like, oh crap, I need to switch up this angle a little bit. And Orji almost breaks that. So that just shows the kind of athlete that Orji is. And he has a sister, right, that is in the Big Ten or somewhere else in sports that is like a track and field athlete. I forget who she is, but he does have that.
Well, both of his brothers played linebacker at Vanderbilt, and one of his brothers, I believe it was Anthony, was like all SEC led in tackles a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So there is an Orji, because I watch a lot of track and field. There is an Orji out there, which is a weird thing to say, in the track and field space that I believe
sounds fallacious.
He is related to. That is an exceptional athlete as well. So anyway, this is all to say we were expecting this at some point. I feel like everyone was like, we're going to see it at some point. He's going to be there. And this was a fun time to see it. But I hope we continue to see it. It's just a really nice job for a guy who doesn't have a lot of game reps to be this patient and be able to hit that hole when he does. That's Orji. So there you go.
Let's be honest. If that was Donovan Edwards, we would be freaking out about how good of a run that is. Everything from the patience to getting skinny through the block to the high kick to get through the shoestring tackle. Like, that's a really, really good run.
Yeah.
So, and let's also be honest. Michigan clearly believes in Alex Orji at quarterback. Right? They're not scared to make position changes. There's a guy standing right next to him, Khalil Mullings, right there. Right. So I'll be interested to see. I mean, obviously, we still don't know what JJ's decision is going to be for 24. I think if JJ does come back, you could see Orji on the field quite a bit, similar to what JJ did with Cade, maybe. Mm-hmm. And if not, look, if the guy can throw 65% completion, something like that, he could be in this QB1 conversation next year for real. They clearly, and I'm not just saying that, whatever, but like Michigan obviously believes in him. He's still in the quarterback room. Like I got to trust that's how they feel about him. So my only issue was running the play with him again the very next play.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. But I'll tell you what, playoff game, you bring him back in again, let him throw the ball.
That's it. And this is kind of what going back to like how they've used Donovan Edwards, right? And now you've put this on film of there's this super athletic guy that you need to commit resources to in the run game because this is dangerous. Putting this on film, he made a lot of these Ohio State players look slow. and he's strong. He's a big boy. So to be that fast and that big, that's a problem. So putting this on films, again, just strikes the fear into defensive coordinators. It strikes the fear when he's on the field. And there's a lot of value that fear can bring you in how you game plan with that. So this just brings an awareness of this player now that defensive coordinators have to spend time allocating certain looks when he is on the field. And that's only a good thing. So limited number of snaps, but what you gain by forcing other defensive coordinators to account for this is pretty valuable. Okay. I included these kicks because I feel like not enough people are talking about James Turner. And I want to talk about him, all right?
Against East Carolina, this one from 50. Good snap, got it away. Pure.
And there's nothing really to break down, but Michigan doesn't win this game without him. And he wasn't called upon the last couple games. And really all year, he hasn't had to hit a big kick. Obviously, last year we had Moody hit the game winner against Illinois. And obviously that was huge for continuing Michigan's hopes. This was that moment for James Turner times 3. All of his field goals, including this 50-yarder, were essentially game winners. The game is extremely different if he doesn't nail each and every one of those. This is why Michigan will continue to get what they want out of the transfer portal, because these guys will get drafted. Maybe not James Turner, maybe not. Jake Moody did pretty early, right, by the 49ers. I just feel like if you're a specialist and you have a chance to go to Michigan, why not? Because you're going to be scoring points. You're going to be put in opportunities to win games. You're going to be a national spotlight. So he did an exceptional job. Michigan doesn't win this game without him.
Yeah, just, he came in, they didn't need him a lot throughout the year, like you said, but 56 out of 57 on extra points, 12 of 14 overall on field goals. One of his misses was from 50 plus, just kind of let him out there and let it rip. But yeah, here's a 50-yarder. Ohio State, we showed it in the episode yesterday. Ryan Day lets 30 plus seconds run off the clock for his kicker to attempt a 52-yarder, and it doesn't go through. So props, man. Props to Turner, props to Michigan.
It's huge.
Yep.
All right, moving into defense here.
They won another one yesterday. 1st and 10 at the 25. McCord in trouble, and McCord.
And there weren't a whole lot of sacks for Michigan. I feel like coming into this game, that offensive line looked like it was going to be overmatched. That was a big win when you're looking at matchups, the defensive line versus Ohio State's offensive line. And coming into this, the stats, I feel like coming into this game, or almost every game, it was like, well, you didn't get the sack numbers, but the pressure was always there. And I feel like that bore out in this game as well. He was pressured quite a bit. McCord just performed much better under pressure compared to a lot of other quarterbacks on the schedule. So I apologize for this split screen. It's not great. I'm going to try to not get to the screen getting smaller portion of this. But this is a clever little stunt here for Michigan. And it's not even really a stunt. You're just sending 4 here. You're dropping back. You're dropping 7 here into zone coverage here. It looks like a cover 3 look, because you're dropping here, here, and here. And then you got zone. I believe Mike Sanderson is only coming up because he notices Travion Henderson staying in for pass protection. And then the defensive line is just kind of doing this heavy left sort of shift. You look at where they're coming on the pressure here. You can see these first steps. It seems like they're going towards like a stretch left look is kind of what they're defending here. And that turns into a pass rush. But everyone is winning. You look at Mason Graham, he's getting held like crazy here, and he's still winning.
You see half his chest.
Yeah, you can see his nipple here. Like, what's going on? This is a PG show, Mason Graham. Put it away, buddy. You got Braden McGregor after the initial step here. He's working, I believe this is Kate Stover, and he wins up the middle here. So you have everyone really collapsing here at the right time. And McCord probably should have let this rip. If you're looking for an open area, you got this crossing route for Julian Fleming. This is a deep safety. He's not going to be able to react to this quick enough. Sure, you have a linebacker here, but I don't know really what McCord is looking at. It seems like this should be where the ball is going. So just a little bit late here, and there's the pressure between Braden McGregor and Mason Graham. Mason Graham gets the actual sack there. So this is just a win for the pass rush in situations where Michigan was getting a lot of wins, but not able to capitalize because McCord was getting the ball out a little bit quicker. But yeah, I think this was a miss for McCord. I think he had something there with Julian Fleming, number 4, across the middle, and he just didn't pull the trigger. But that's what pressure can do, right? Pressure can force mistakes, can get you squirrely. Maybe his internal clock, he was feeling that, and that can be the difference sometimes. So give credit to the pass rush for getting home on this one.
Yeah, it was the only sack of the day, but they did have 13 pressures, 6 QB hits. Mason Graham had 3 of those pressures. So again, McCord actually did really well under pressure, but I've said this a million times on this show that you love to get sacks, obviously. They're drive killers and whatever, but the interception, and there's just so many things that come from pressure and just what it does to the clock of the quarterback too. Like you said, normally maybe he lets that rip, but his timing's off, right? They tend to hold on to it longer under pressure too, which is kind of ironic. But anyway, it's just the defensive front for Michigan has been relentless all year. They don't always get to the QB, but the pressure's been super valuable. And
this is something where you're looking at McCord. He's probably looking to step up here to deliver this. That seems like where the eyes are headed here. But Bray McGregor is coming at you pretty open. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any sort of possibility for Kyle McCord to get out of this. So in terms of why is there hesitancy, this is the picture that you're seeing in this sort of line of sight here for Kyle McCord. You see big number 17 coming. So it's reasonable to say he's going to take this extra step up. We saw earlier in the game where he delivered that ball to Marvin Harrison, where he stepped up in the pocket and delivered a deep ball. That seems like what he's trying to do here with that. He's trying to step up a little bit. Just happens that Mason Graham is there as well. So give Bray McGregor, even though I think he had a quiet day overall, it's a big one. Getting pressure, making the quarterback feel uncomfortable. That's all part of a QB pressure, and it all it all adds up. McGregor probably wins our Mozzie Smith Award this year. I don't know how many times he's gotten sack assists.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's exactly crazy. Yeah.
All right, 2nd and 13 here.
McCord delivers underneath. Marvin Harrison Jr. makes the first man miss and gets out of.
Hat tip, because this is a simple slant, but the reaction here, it looks like a lazy route. You watch Marvin Harrison Jr. at the top here and watch how slow it takes him to actually get into this break. But then once he's in it, boom, he's there. And it's not bad coverage, right? Will Johnson is there ready to defend this slant. You just have Marvin Harrison able to stop on a dime and put on a spin move. It's a great move. That's tough. He's able to hand fight his way, get the first down. That's big on 2nd and 13. That's a big play, because usually I would say probably 90% of wide receivers, maybe a higher percentage of that, get tackled and try to go upfield here, right? They try to go upfield. Maybe they get tackled right here. That's still 3rd and 7 or so. But this is Marvin Harrison Jr. And as much as we've lauded his skills for catching the ball and able to make circus catches, late hands, a lot of his key skill sets, can also do stuff after the catch. And to stop on a dime here and spin away from Will Johnson, I don't think tackling is necessarily Will Johnson's number 1 skill set, but he's no slouch there. He can lay a hit. So to be able to spin away here is pretty impressive. So again, just another hat tip to Marvin Harrison. When Will is attacking the run game or coming up to make a tackle, we've seen a lot of big hits from there.
Yeah,
but absolutely.
We've also seen him give up some yard after the catch in plays like this. So, And at this point, again, I feel like somebody has to tell Kyle McCord he did a great job. That's 10 straight completions since the interception to Will in it. So,
All right, moving on. I don't know if you recognize this on the broadcast. It was kind of superimposed with this, man ball drive for Ohio State, but the scoreboard just wasn't on the screen. And I was getting so frustrated over it because Ohio State, they had 8 runs that we'll get to here. I think I only added a couple here from this drive, but then you add in the lack of a scoreboard and I was just getting mad. I was like, why can't Fox figure it out?
There was something wrong with the clock. Because at one point they had the stadium clock showing and then it just went away. And then I've seen a couple comments. I do not know for sure, but there is a belief that was where Will had re-aggravated the leg injury.
Okay. So. He did come out at the end of the 3rd quarter, though. And this is still early on.
Yeah, right? He continued to play. Yeah, he's on the short or the near side of the field in this play.
Yeah.
That's why I said that I've heard some people suggest that. I don't know for sure when he got re-aggravated, but
Places him. Trainum, stutter step, tries to turn the corner and does. And it
All right, so you got to call a hold when it's a hold. Michigan defends this well. Michigan does. Would I have liked to see a little bit better job of Derek Moore on the edge? Yeah, because Derek Moore needs to be keeping his outside arm free. But then again, the more I look at this, the expectation of this play, because you have 55 coming across here, he's supposed to lead through this B gap. And that's where it seems like this play is supposed to go, at least based on where the pull is. So you have the end here for Michigan, Derek Moore getting his inside arm free. So it seems like he's responsible for this, or at least expecting this pull and trying to blow that up to free up your linebackers to flow to this play. So I don't fully understand the gap responsibility, but this seems purposeful. This isn't something where Derek Moore is trying to get to the outside and not getting it. He is getting to the inside here where he wants and absorbing that block as well. He essentially is taking two blockers on by himself. So then the next step is, all right, Michael Barrett has the outside here. So maybe trust your backside linebacker to take this hole, and you can help establish that edge, this D gap, I guess you could call this, if you're Mike Barrett, and establish that. So maybe he's a little late. So we've been high on Mike Barrett. Seems like both he and Junior Colson, we have two linebackers here very close to the same gap here. One is maybe not doing the appropriate role here. So maybe to the outside a little bit more for Mike Barrett. All right. So that's two things that are probably the main thing that could have been done a little bit better here. Then you have Josh Wallace, who's a really, really good run defender at corner, probably Michigan's best. And he works to the outside here. And at this point, this play should probably be dead right around the 30, because if he's able to work up to this, right, his job is just get to the outside, train him back towards the inside. And then you have Mike Barrett flowing to this play and probably a 4-yard pickup, right? And that's, you take that if you're Michigan. But that's a clear hole on Julian Fleming. It just straight up is. If we go to this other angle, let's go to this angle. This probably shows it best here. The initial engagement here of Fleming right there, you're grabbing that arm. You don't just have a body turned like this, okay? Like Wallace is getting turned because that left arm of Fleming is holding on. And you can see it right here through this gap. You can still see this white glove is still on the tricep here of Josh Wallace. I don't know what you're looking at, man. Get your eyes on him. So anyway, it's a miss. It's a miss, right? And that helps spring this from what should be a 3 to 4 yard gain into a big one. So I feel like Michigan defended this pretty well. And from this angle, you can actually see what Mike Barrett is seeing much clearer, because this double team is reaching out to the linebacker. So I probably shouldn't talk bad about anything Mike Barrett ever does, because linebackering is hard and he is seeing this potential gap. So if he's going out here, right, you have two bodies doubling right here, you could be in trouble with this. So you can understand why Mike Barrett is staying here to dissuade this for Trainum and forcing him to the outside, where you have a physical corner who can work to the outside as well. So I don't think Michigan defends this poorly. I think it's actually pretty good. And you could argue this is maybe a little bit of an attempted hold as well on the edge. So anyway, this play is springboarded by a hold. You can see this hold even clear from this angle. What's happening, right? So anyway, I think there's holding on almost every single play, but when it's this egregious, you got to call it. You got to call it. They didn't call it. Siesta la Bay. Happens. All right. But that one wasn't a good miss by the refs. That was a rough one.
When it literally impacts the play like that, that's when you have to throw it, right?
Yep.
Like when you've got guys rushing the quarterback, yeah, you can call it on every play. But if I can say there would have been a sack if not for the hold, that's when you have to call it.
Yep.
Is there a tackle here if there's no hold? Absolutely. Because Wallace is going to get outside. At worst, he's bringing Trainum back in where Barrett can make the tackle.
Right. Yep.
So
yeah, this directly impacts the play. This gets that first down. Without a doubt, that gets this first down. So
and look, Michigan knows that more than 25% of Trainum's carries, about 30% of his yards, about 50% of his long runs all come outside the left tackle.
Yep.
So, like you said, arguably they did play this well. They just Barrett's right there, and Wallace would have been able to, turn him back in if he hadn't got home. So held, excuse me.
Yep. All right, moving in, we're looking at the right side of this screen here. Ohio State running tempo and picks up a touchdown here.
Downfield, getting to the second level. They'll run it again, looking for the touchdown, and they have it.
Thought this is just really clever use of tempo here. Michigan is just simply not set. You can see little things here where they're still getting lined up here at the second level. Your ends are not set, and Ohio State chose a couple times to really go up tempo, and it paid off. This one more than others, where you have guys committing to gaps here without any linebacker help over top. So you have Josiah Stewart getting to the outside here. You have Kenneth Grant probably choosing the wrong gap. I don't know why he would choose this unless you have a linebacker responsible for this B gap. If you watch both your end and your defensive tackle working to the inside, that's a clear gap with nothing over the top to help that out. So I think it's just a bust. I think it's a bust. And in a goal line situation, it doesn't make sense for this to be the action of these two defensive linemen without something directly over the top. I just don't think they were set. I don't think they had communicated it, and they weren't ready for this play. So I think it's that simple. Sometimes you get caught, and sometimes the offense makes a good good decision in what to when to run tempo. And is there a hold against Kenneth Grant? Probably, right? Like this seems like it's probably a hold, but this is one where in the previous play where it directly impacts. I feel like with this double team, does the hold really stop this from happening? I don't know, right? So I'm going to be less egregious about that. Is it a hold technically? Sure. I think you definitely have a case there, but I don't think it changed the outcome of this play greatly. Maybe it did. But I think it is a hold. But again, you can call hold on a lot of plays, and this one I don't think is nearly as impactful as the previous play.
Yeah, and this is the moment we were talking about where Ohio State gave Michigan a taste of their own medicine. This was a Michigan drive. This was the kind of drive Michigan has leaned on to win this football game in the last couple of years. And before this play, there's multiple moments where the defense, you see the hands on waist, the heavy breath, right? You haven't seen this defense tired very much this year.
Yep.
And they were. And now the game is tied. Ohio State's ran the ball really well. Michigan hasn't really to a point yet. And you're starting to feel like, right? This is how the game has gone for Michigan in previous years. So big momentum swing at this moment.
Yeah.
And
there's gut check time.
Yeah, 100%.
Here we go. Second 5.
McCarthy. Underneath, caught inside.
Gut check time. Where do you go? You go to your tight end. I really love, we've mentioned it all year, this little motion to bring into a stack, right? It just makes it a little bit more difficult for your defensive backs when you change the look. That's all this is doing, this little motion. It's potentially messing up who has number 1, who has number 2, who has what responsibilities. So that's something that you need to pay attention to, because being a linebacker, being a defensive back in college football these days, especially under like a Minter defense, I bet it's difficult under a Knowles defense as well. It's pretty difficult. And this sort of route is excellent for Michigan because look at the motion here for the linebackers, right? The linebackers moving this way. You have the motion already taking the momentum here, and then you can just cut up through this zone. And there's the zone shot, right? Eichenberg is just late getting over to that, but this is just taking advantage of the zone of a couple of linebackers. And that's a perfectly placed ball. You could not place that ball any better. And J.J. McCarthy's cooking here. He's cooking with gas. And again, dependable, great hands, and just a great catch. So I really like how you see Colson Loveland taking this horizontal, and I think he recognizes where the linebacker is here. So when he's going in motion here and then he's starting on this route, he recognizes that he can take this a little bit more vertical. So I like what he's doing with his eyes here. He's recognizing the coverage, recognizing the crease, and then he takes us a little bit more vertical here to split those two linebackers, and he makes a great catch. Ball's a little low, right? And Colson Loveland is able to make that in stride and continue to get yards after the catch. Just an athlete. Name a potato after him. I don't know where that came from, but Loveland potatoes.
You got Russets and Lovelands. I don't know what that voice was, but
I like it.
That's my potato man.
Potato farmer voice.
He's unreal. And
Yeah.
like I said, my only complaint in this game was they didn't go to him versus Still Chambers more.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what else to say. I'm so excited for this year, and I always hate thinking, next year. But man, again, when Jake Butt says he's already better than he ever was, okay. I'm just excited to see what the rest of his career looks like. He's an unbelievable player.
Yep. And Mr. Martini said it. He was like spitting out blood and stuff. That's
gross.
Yeah, it was gross on the sideline. That was because of
real
there.
Thick blood, dude.
Right there. That boom. Got a bloody nose from that. So that's tough. Football player.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Second 6.
Limiting explosive plays. Play fake. McCarthy with time. McCarthy dancing, rolling. He'll tuck it, cut it. Still on the move. JJ.
This is, again, when the play breaks down, you're not going to get every play with an opening here against Ohio State. You're not. And you're silly if you think that's going to be the case. Now, I do think you could have had something here. You had a little crosser. Now, let's look back at this route here for Tyler Morris. I think you have this a little bit there to Tyler Morris. It's not blaringly open, but I think you probably could have gotten a couple yards if you deliver that ball. But then you look over the top. There's nothing else really between these 3 wide receivers that look exceptionally open at this point. Right? Nothing is really coming open, and that's when JJ McCarthy, his internal clock is going off, and he's trying to make something happen. Right, so probably doesn't like what he sees. A lot of the routes you saw were going deeper to the other side of the field. Blake Corum probably could have stopped right here because you have both 22 and 7 going out here. So if he just kind of stops and stays, that gives an option for JJ McCarthy to throw the pass here. But I do like what Blake Corum does once he sees, okay, now he's established himself as a runner. He's just going to run at him. And he makes a really good decision here. I don't think he actually does pick up the block, but he's just kind of in the way. And he doesn't pick up any penalty there because he's not actually putting his hands on him, but he's at least getting in the way there. It's sort of like a hip check a little bit. So really good vision here as a runner for JJ McCarthy to recognize that. And that's a big chunk on 2nd and 6. And the last thing I'll mention on this, I love how he dives forward.
I knew you were going to.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What game was I watching? Florida State, their backup quarterback, right? With Jordan Travis out, their second string quarterback got destroyed sliding on a very similar, just scrambling play like this. Never scramble, always scramble, especially if you're JJ McCarthy, but dive forward. If you slide, you put yourself up to get a concussion. Without a doubt, it's going to happen if you continue to do that. I've seen it happen to so many quarterbacks. It's inevitable on every level.
Brandon
if you
Peters,
dive,
Dylan McCaffrey.
Yeah. If you dive, guess what? You're not giving up any yards. The ball is forward instead of backwards. And you probably lose 3 to 4 yards because when you slide, it's at the time that you decided to slide. Right. So right now, this ball would have been down at the 45-yard line if JJ McCarthy decides to slide right now instead of dive. This is the decision point, right? So it's down on the 45. Instead, because he dives, look at that. You get the ball at the 41-yard line. You gain 4 yards, 4 yards because of that decision, and you don't get a concussion, okay? So you protect your brain. You get 4 yards. Everyone wins, and that's why you should always dive. It's such a dangerous play, the slide, that I don't understand why it's not banned in the sport. They want to eject people for targeting. Well, guess what? Maybe ban the slide and make it a penalty because it's putting players at risk. So I haven't seen JJ McCarthy do an actual slide in a hot second. And
I think since last year.
Yeah. And I think it's because Michigan has probably coached that out of him, saying, hey, dive. The odds of you getting injured through a dive are much lower. So.
Well, the purpose of the play and the intent behind it was, the quarterback's giving himself up. He's giving himself up, dead play. Well, yeah, but you're not stopping players from coming in at full speed. And now you're just sitting there, right? And now you've begun to slide. So now you've lowered your head and just made it literally the perfect target. So I don't know what they need to do if they want to continue to protect the quarterback on the run with that, because the slide's just not going to do it. Because, you call the penalty. Right. So what?
Yeah.
Your quarterback just got knocked out of the game.
Right.
Or as we've seen, literally career-altering injuries from QBs trying to do the right thing and slide. So, JJ's been doing this all year, and it's good to see, and I knew you were going to say something. You've been screaming for that for a long time. So
I don't know if they need to ban it, but they need to have like a PSA or something, like an actual campaign to like teach how much more effective it is to dive than slide. I just don't get it. Anyway, 2nd and 9 here.
McCarthy steps into his throw over the middle, wide open target. This time is A.J. Barner still on the move.
And I've talked up Colson Loveland. A.J. Barner may be one of the most valuable tight ends in the country as well, if not Colson Loveland.
I'm not going to say might. He is.
He is. Sure. Yeah, this team looks exceptionally different without this guy on the team. And what a find for this staff. This is a beautiful play design. It's just a tight end delay. You keep him in on pass protection. Michigan coming into this game, what was your issue? Your right tackle was struggling a little bit in pass pro. And we were, I feel like, talking about the past couple weeks after the Penn State game. How are they going to adjust to that? Keep your running back in more often, help out with your tight end. And I feel like they probably expected that. They, meaning Ohio State, keeping a tight end in a little bit more to help out, because these are some dudes in Sawyer and JTT on the outside in the pass rush. So this is something Ohio State probably expected. Adding in a little wheel out of the backfield, that's going to garner a lot of attention here. That's a lot of attention. We've lost Trevor. Oh no. But this is getting a lot of focus here. This is getting a lot of focus for both of these linebackers. And then you release late, right? You release late here for A.J. Barner. And that's not an easy catch right here. That's a little bit high. And he's able to catch that in stride. And he moves quick for a big guy. A.J. Barner is big. He's like 6'7" or something. And he's like 240, 250 or something crazy. He's big. So just a beautiful play design. Really love, again, they use kind of what I feel like the defense expected in adding additional help here for Barnhart. And then they're able to take advantage of that and use Edwards appropriately as the weapon he is to get eyes away and move your second level defenders away from the true first threat of this play, which is A.J. Barner. So it's great. It's really, really good play, really good use of a late route like that. And it's almost impossible to defend, almost impossible. So really, really fun, hard pressed to find a team that uses their tight ends better than Michigan.
Barner does have another year of eligibility. I don't know if he slept up when he was meeting with the media. He made a comment about looking ahead till next year. I think he was speaking more generally. We don't know if he's coming back yet or not, but yeah, he's the best blocking tight end in college football. And then, when you can do this wide delay and leak him, he's an absolute weapon in the scene too. And then obviously this is the play where Zach Zinter gets hurt. So
I didn't, and I paused at the worst spot. So you can see it happen. I'm really thankful they didn't actually show it in the replay. They do way too much of that in football.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how they do that. And people that I've heard were at the game or different articles you can read say it was absolutely brutal. And I mean, tibia and fibula dual fracture. It's a brutal look, and that's really, really tough. And, it is the best of a bad situation, right? And what I mean by that is bones will heal. That's exactly what Jim Harbaugh said. If it's ligaments, if it's an ankle, it's a very serious foot injury,
right?
Anything with ankle, anything with knee, you're not guaranteed to come back from that. At least not come back at full strength. But the odds of coming back at full strength with just bones breaking, really high to come back at full speed. So really thankful that although it's a gruesome injury, really difficult to go through, I'm sure, best of a really bad situation. So, I mean, it's tough for his, because he was looking at a first round draft pick, probably first or second
He was arguably
round.
he was arguably going to be the first guard off the board.
Yeah, and I really don't think this injury will really change much for him because it's just bones, right? Again, if it's a knee, maybe that switches things up. Maybe he falls a little bit, but he's going to be okay. And that's what I am most grateful for, just for him, because he came back when he probably could have left. I don't know. Is he a true junior? I'm not exactly sure. I forget. But regardless, he to end this way is brutal. But to have an injury where it's very easy to see him come back as the player that we have grown to really appreciate in him. To go back to that full strength after that injury, high likelihood that's at least a good thing now. So,
and as Adam points out, the knee braces, Michigan offensive linemen have all worn those knee braces since the Grant Newsome injury.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because that was one where, we talked about that story a lot, where he might have lost a leg, not just not get back to his full potential. It was literally career ending. So that's what these guys are putting on the line on any given play. All it takes is one freak play and it could all be over. So thankfully it's not for Zach Zinter, and thankfully Michigan has a phenomenal tight ends coach in Grant Newsome at this point, right? So, all right, moving into the very next play. One of the most special moments, I think, in this game especially, and in Michigan football for Blake Corum and for this team in general.
Dancing. Corum breaks a tackle to the end zone. Blake the Great, touchdown, Wolverines.
The 6'5", man. The 6'5". And this is, you get goosebumps. You get goosebumps watching it because they're running right off of that right guard again here, right? They're running right off the right guard. And this is a patented Blake Corum move. And he said in the post game, right? He came back for this game to create his legacy. And he said he hoped that he would have cemented that legacy. And I mean, he did, right? This is a legacy defining run. This is exactly what that is. Great blocking all around. Nugent was actually surprised he was named first team. I think he's a great center. And I think he's undervalued on this team, including myself. So at this point you have Barnhart now at the guard position. Right, it's weird to look at the right guard now and to be calling out Barnhart, but Nugent and Barnhart working together here, double team. Nugent works out to the second level here for the linebacker. Does a good job picking that up. You look at the left side, really good job from Keegan Henderson. Do a good job picking this up. Who else? Barner on the left side doing a good job one-on-one defensive end. And look at that crease. And this cut from Blake Corum is just about getting people out of position because at this point it's one-on-one. Right, we mentioned the double already here, getting up to the second level. Good block here, Keegan. Get a block here on the play side linebacker. Comes down to one mano-a-mano here. And this little right cut here, not only does that give the initial eyes, because you're looking through a bunch of bodies here as the safety. You're looking through a bunch of bodies. But he gets lost. If we pause here after this cut, he's lost now. The eyes here. The momentum after this cut, right? This cut this way, that's all that he saw through a couple bodies. So his momentum is going to take him this way a little bit before Blake Corum comes shooting through this gap. So all the information he's been told at this point is the initial cut was this way. So maybe he's bouncing out this way. Maybe he's going to find a crease here, right? That's what his eyes are telling him. And now he has a mass of humanity to look through for a 5'7", 5'8" Blake Corum. And that's all he needs. Boom. Now you're in trouble. Now you're in trouble because Blake Corum has the momentum going this way. You're just catching up, right? You look at the hips. He's just catching up back this way. So he's not able to react, right? This is Blake Corum. Should have won the Heisman probably last year. And that's the kind of athlete that you are fighting against that momentum against. So that's all. I mean, it's great blocking, right? But making that safety miss, turning this into a couple yard play into a touchdown is Blake Corum. But that doesn't happen without the blocking up front as well. So it's all cohesive and such a great play where momentum was up in the air. It was the quietest the stadium was all day. And then to come back the next play where you look at the shot on the sideline after that injury, guys are shook, and rightfully so. One of their leaders goes down. to come back and immediately pull off this run, hold up the 6-5. When he was going back to the sideline, he held up 6-5 again. And then after this touchdown, he has his other guard, Trevor Keegan, coming up to be the first to celebrate with him. How can you not be romantic about football, right? That's all. That's it. That's one of the most, like, this is one of my favorite screenshots right here from the game. It is a great moment in Michigan football history that was made right here. So can't give more credit to these players and how they responded to adversity. Once again, this is a true adverse moment when one of your players goes down, and Zach Zinter was in that tunnel, I'm sure, hearing the stadium go crazy after a really, really sad moment for him. So really great to see.
It was emotional when this happened. I'll try not to now. When I saw Trevor Keegan, who is a player and a family I've interacted with since very early when he was being recruited, just kind of a joke around his name being Trevor. When I saw him and the emotion on his face, him and Zinter have been starting on this line for the last 3 years, this run of dominance by this offensive line. That hurt, man. That was tough to see. And unfortunately, we got robbed of a lot of things because the broadcast chose to show commercials.
Yes.
Multiple Ohio State players were coming up and hugging Michigan players. JJ McCarthy was going to multiple players and cheering them up. Ryan Day, who I've been shitting on a lot lately, ran up the tunnel to hug Zinter's family. It was a tough moment, but again, from a momentum standpoint, what we were talking about earlier, Ohio State scores and now Zinter goes down. Like, it just was like, okay, this is going to be it. But to see Keegan's face and then the block he makes on this play, and then for him to be the first player there greeting Quorum in the end zone. And I haven't mentioned this yet. Keegan played the best game of his life.
That's awesome.
He really did. He didn't allow a single pressure. He graded as the highest run blocker and the highest pass blocker in this game. And he chose to put on the 77 as soon as he got to Michigan. That's like wearing the number 1 at wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal. So I thought he cemented his status as a Michigan legend in this game. And it was just, like you said, it's hard not to be romantic about sports, that even in the worst moments,
right,
something like this happens. This is why sports movies are so difficult to make, because either you try to write a sport movie that's not real and then it's not believable, right? Like, you just can't, you can't believe this stuff unless you see it with your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Or they try to over exaggerate what actually happened in real life, and you don't need to, right? There's no drama better than the real life of sports. So obviously, thinking about Zach, quick recovery, and I don't want, this is what put Michigan forward, right, in this game. It's not a good thing by any means, but man, what an example of all the things we talk about with the brotherhood of this team and overcoming adversity. And it's something that all the recruits in the stadium, as much as they talked about the experience in Michigan and blah, 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 one thing they talked about a lot was seeing the team rally around Zinter. And that really stood out to a lot of the recruits in the stadium. So,
yeah. And it stood out to me immediately that Blake Corum's first thought here in the celebration is to throw up the 6-5.
Which means that was in his mind before he got the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah.
Like, he knew he was going to the end zone on that run.
Yep.
Like, that's not spontaneous. He knew he was going into the end zone and throwing that up, man. That's
it.
Unbelievable.
Everyone eats, right? That's it. You're not scoring this on your own. This is with your teammate. So that means a ton. That speaks a lot to the program overall. And I think you're right. We've talked a lot about the commercials and how much that's taken away from the experience of watching the game. It's taken away the humanity. And it kind of shocked me seeing those pictures after the game. They didn't even bring up some of those aspects of Ryan Day going up with the other family, the other players consoling one another, right? We talk about how much it is Michigan against Ohio State. These are all players, and they're all on offense and defense, regardless of what uniform you're wearing. They're putting their health on the line, right, for this game that they all love. And of course, there's a lot of things that they're here for. But it takes away some of the humanity to not be showing those moments and not lifting up those moments. So I think there's some truth to what Harbaugh said in his post-conference, where sometimes it isn't healthy how they market this rivalry and the hatred and things like that, where there's humanity moments in the middle. I mean, this is middle of the third quarter, fourth quarter, right? One of the most important games of the rivalry. But then you get reminded that it's a little bit more about that, right? This is a player's health and a really, really difficult moment as people to overcome. And they came together despite the rivalry because they have respect and they understand that, hey, we're all players. Any one of us could have gone through this and we're here for one another. So it's one of those things where we can, talk and amongst fans and, talk shit and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's about humans playing against one another. And those are the type of things that you have to keep in mind, because for whatever reason, the TV broadcast won't show that to you. And it's weird, right? So anyway, I think it's a bummer that a lot of those things that you mentioned that were really special about that moment in a really difficult time, there were special things that weren't shown to the 19 plus million people who were watching that game.
Got to get that money from another Allstate ad. So.
Right. So anyway, you got a little morose there at the end. So let's watch a little bit more football.
How do you respond? How does Ohio State respond now? Here's the pitch. Henderson tries to cut it back.
And this is one of the most important drives. After Ohio State just had the 8 straight run touchdown, after that very emotional moment, now you see the emotion of the defense come out.
Listen to that crowd, man.
The crowd was going wild.
Awesome.
And look at the job on your play side defensive end. He displaces, I believe that's Cade Stover in the backfield. That's 4 yards. That's an exceptional job. And then that forces the rerouting here of Travion Henderson. He should have cut up earlier, but you're keeping that inside arm free for your defensive end, right? He almost goes too far into the backfield because that creates a little bit of a crease here for Travion Henderson. I think that's Josiah Stewart, right? He's just absolutely manhandling him into the backfield. And that buys so much time for your defensive lineman to work down the line of scrimmage. And you have Chris Jenkins waiting here down the line of scrimmage. Just you're eating up space at this point. And it's such a great job from Josiah Stewart. He gets off that block and even gets an assisted tackle here. And good hustle there from Chris Jenkins to pick it up as well. So set the tone right away. You're up 7. Defense had a rough series last time. Set the tone right away on first down.
And like we've said, Ryan Day knows that Ohio State has to be able to run the ball and be physical.
Yeah.
Right. In 2021, they came out in the first 3 plays. They ran the ball, and then Josh Ross gets the tackle on 3rd and short, and from then on, they kind of gave up on the run. So they just had the drive with the 8 straight runs. They come out here wanting to run the ball, but then get forced into an obvious passing situation, right? They've established the run they wanted to so bad. They know the momentum is now switched back to Michigan after the injury and the touchdown. And again, in a game of physicality winning, here comes a 2nd and obvious and physicality.
Yep. And then this sets up a huge play, 2nd and 9. This might be my play of the game. There's a lot of great plays that you can point to. This is probably one of my favorites.
To the 26. Kyle McCord steps into his throw. Oh, incomplete.
I mean, this is Quinton Johnson, a guy who's maybe played 100 odd snaps, maybe a little more than that.
Played more, actually. Yeah.
More than that.
He's been really good all year too.
And he's been exceptional. He hasn't played as much as nearly a lot of the other safeties this year, but man, is this a great play. And there's so much that goes on before this play as well, because you have motion here, and this is going to shift the responsibility. You had Michael Barrett, who initially had Cade Stover going up the seam. Then you're moving over Ibuka here. So he's becoming the new number 2. You have communication. Watch between Michael Barrett. He's going to reach out over here, become the nickel instead of Mike Sainristil. For whatever reason, I don't know exactly what the rules are, but that's what's happening. He's becoming the nickel here. He's responsible for carrying this vertical, okay? And watch the communication here first between Michael Barrett. He's going to look over. He's going to say, hey, I got him. I got him here. And then he's flipping back and letting Quinton Johnson know, hey, I got Emeka Ibuka here. right? Whatever your responsibility is, I'm going to need some help on this because I'm a linebacker, right? So he does a good job. They do so many things in such a short amount of time that they need to do. It's all about communication, right? You have communication here and then to here, then communication between your linebackers here to make sure that he's covering Cade Stover up the seam, right? You're trading let's delete the clip. You're trading all of those responsibilities on the fly. And then that last communication between Quinton Johnson and Michael Barrett, right? And you look at it and it's all covered. Everything is here. Everything is there. And there is no hesitation for Quinton Johnson to get over the top on that. And I think I have this angle. I love how quick that Quinton Johnson is on this. He has such great eyes getting back towards the middle of the field here, which is his responsibility. Then he's looking between the quarterback. And then as soon as he recognizes, hey, this is where he's loading up, right? How many times earlier this season when he was getting that initial playing time, he wasn't trusting those eyes. He wasn't being quick enough. But he recognizes that this motion probably that we're seeing Kyle McCord, those eyes, he's probably starting to load up right now and throw the ball. And then he speeds up so well there and shifts over perfectly to see this is the ball. Now I need to locate the wide receiver. But that initial angle that he's taking before he's even looking over at Ibuka, because his eyes are on the quarterback the entire time, but he's getting depth. Then he flips his hips and now he's accelerating. And then he shows up at the perfect spot at the perfect time. This is what you would expect a guy like Rod Moore, who has played a ton of snaps for Michigan, to make. Not a guy like Quinton Johnson. And we mentioned it for Michael Barrett. We've mentioned it for Mike Sainer. So this is if you stay, you will be champions. Those who stay, right? This Quinton Johnson is a testament to that because he wasn't getting all the snaps that he probably could have at a number of other Big Ten football teams, right? Other Big Ten football programs. I'm sure they would have taken him. But you know what he wouldn't have become if he did that? A Big Ten champion in 2023. And he wouldn't have been here to make this play at a crucial time in this game. Exceptional play. One of the best plays from a defender in this game and one of the best of the year. He's been great. He's been great this year, and he got to prove it in a huge moment. You can't time this. You can't play this any better than that. It's the photo you edited, right? It's the Marcus Ray.
I've got it queued up so we can put it up.
There we go. Throw it up. Throw it up.
But yeah, Quinton Johnson played 264 snaps this year.
Wow, that's way more. But it's because he's been quiet, right? If he's
quiet.
not making the play, it's because his safety's being boring. And that's a good thing. You're doing your job.
He is the highest graded safety in coverage this year. And he played a lot early because, Rod Moore and Makari Page were injured. So, but yeah, when I saw that play, I thought the same thing everyone else did.
Yep. There you go.
And I could not wait I just needed to find the right picture.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's people that weren't alive when Marcus Ray hit David Boston and don't necessarily know about the grudge that was going on with Boston and Woodson.
Right.
But they know that play.
Yeah.
Because of that picture, they know that hit. And I have a feeling we're going to look at the Quinton Johnson play in a similar fashion for quite a while as well. So
yeah, you cannot time it up any better than this. And I went through with this play. I did this for like 10 minutes last night, just doing this. And I mean, just put it like, again, this will be in like, you'll blow this up. This is a legendary hit. It's a legendary play. And I just love the technique here. Just watching the back pedal, flip of the hips here. There's no wasted movement and his ability to accelerate. That's the thing coming out of high school. He had great speed, right? He dealt with some injuries. There were a lot of things, a lot of people questioning, like it was getting late early, right? It really was, but he stayed the course.
He does have a year of eligibility left.
Yeah.
But yeah, red shirt, 2019 COVID year in 20. So he's only played 3 seasons.
Yeah. Exceptional play and huge. And I didn't clip the third down, but Ohio State was rattled. I didn't include it. It was a throw into double coverage to the feet of
6 yards short of the first down.
Yeah. So they were rattled, forced a punt. Michigan gets the ball back here.
36. Edwards follows his block, bounces it outside.
I included this play. It is a negative play, but I thought this could have been a touchdown.
Mhm.
Thought it could have been. Very similar to kind of what I analyzed earlier with Orji, being patient. And you mentioned it. If Orji, maybe if he has this, because this play has exactly what you want. You got one blocker here. You got another blocker getting out in Keegan here. If you're just a little bit patient here, fake to the inside, boom, follow this block. Good luck. Good luck. He's just a little bit too sped up here, right? Just gear down a little bit. Fake to the inside a little bit here, and then work to the outside. He just gets caught up on the inside a little bit too much. You don't need to commit that much. Don't need to commit that much vertically. You can feign it right here and then slow down and gear out here. And he just doesn't. He gets too into his own block here. He gets too into it, and that allows just enough room for Eichenberg to affect the play. There's a path there that Donovan Edwards can take to dust guys on the edge here. So big missed opportunity, and it's kind of been the story for him pretty much all year. Just sometimes he against Penn State, big game for him, and he was huge in that one. So he's had his moments. I'm not trying to rag on him too much for that, but this could have been a huge play. Could have been a big one. Could have broken it open. So a little bit of a bummer. You would have had the safety here, and I think
he'll have Proctor up high.
Yeah, he'll have Proctor there, but it still could have been.
Those are the plays he wins, though.
Exactly.
Like he gets in space and he has the one-on-one with the safety. Those are the plays he wins. But again, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
It's just the same thing we've seen all year, where like he's already looking ahead to Proctor,
right,
and moving too quick to get into that lane, and I'm sure for a guy, he's been itching to get a big run all year, right?
Yep.
So his eyes probably get big and he go as soon as like there's any chance of the play being there. But yeah, he's going up the outside, and it looks probably very similar to the first touchdown last year,
right?
Where he's got the safety taking the line, and either he outruns him or he breaks a tackle or whatever. But like he's at least got a first down,
right? Yeah,
right. Like I don't know. It's a frustrating deal for sure.
Yep. So I had to include that just because that was one of the few like what could have been plays. All right.
10 at the 46. Edwards, they pitch it to him. Edwards wants to throw it. Wide open. He's got his man. Love it.
Gus just kills me too.
Yeah, wide open. He starts losing his mind. And again, what's one of the hardest plays to cover when you have a tight end who looks like he's coming downfield to block? And I feel like Ohio State got way too fooled on this than they should have been. How often do you actually see Michigan running pitches out here? Doesn't happen often. So anyway, it's a good play. It's a good play, and it's good late recognition here from this safety. If he doesn't recognize this and turn around when he does, it's probably 6, even if this play is underthrown. And again, I'm not going to harp on a running back for underthrowing this pass. You underthrow the pass. It could have been a touchdown, of course, but the worst case scenario is you overthrowing this. So should it have been a touchdown? Probably. I trust Coastal Loveland to probably get there if it's thrown in stride. But again, I don't think that's the point of this play. So again, give your flowers to Sharon Moore for calling this at a good time. Give credit to Donovan Edwards for throwing a completable pass. You take it. Could have been touchdown.
Could have been overthrown too.
Could have been overthrown, and that would have been a killer. So this is a big play. Keep the momentum, and that's fun, man. He has a perfect completion percentage, right?
The best quarterback in Michigan history. Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep it going. All right, moving on here. 3rd and 5.
McCarthy swings it out. Morgan and
didn't love this play. Just straight up did not like it. And maybe they saw something. Maybe they saw something that thought they would get a different look with this sort of motion. Okay. I don't actually know, because it's odd to me that this is the play call. Because I love Samaj Morgan. I really do. But Denzel Burke's an excellent defensive back. And that is not a favorable matchup one-on-one. And you're leaving that one-on-one because you have a block here. So you're saying we're going to deliver this ball out here quick enough, and we trust Samaj Morgan to beat an all-conference level. I don't know if he actually was all-conference level, but he's that good of a defensive back one-on-one. I don't know if I like that matchup. So I do think one aspect of this that could be done a little bit better. You showed your hand a little bit quick if you're Samaj Morgan. You can sell this a little bit more. Go upfield and come back. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. So his body language of just immediately turning this way, that allows Burke to react to this immediately. So you watch Samaj Morgan, he can do a little bit more to kind of sell like he's going out on something and then come back for it. But him immediately just kind of setting up for that before the ball is thrown out there, that gives a lot of time for the defensive back to close in on that. So give him credit for, breaking that initial tackle, but this is all about timing. If you don't make that first guy miss immediately, you're in trouble, and he just doesn't. So Denzel Burke just wins on that. So I don't really like this play call for that reason, because it's one of their strengths. Denzel Burke's a good corner, and he showed it all day that he was a good corner. So Michigan maybe thought that was a more favorable matchup than I did, or maybe they saw something on film where they expected a little bit different reaction from Denzel Burke than what they actually got.
I said it yesterday. I would have preferred the play where they went to Donovan. If that would have been Samaj and you have 3 blockers out, because he is shifty. He's really good at this.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, he finished the year as wide receiver 3. Yeah. It's incredible for a freshman. Like, they get hyped up every offseason, it seems, and then they don't really get on the field and make an impact. He was pretty much tasked with replacing AJ Henning.
Yep.
And it was like, well, he could become whatever. He already surpassed him in a lot of ways. So, he's more than likely the starting slot receiver next year, and the future's bright, man. Jukebox is an incredible player, and his post game, I think it was an Instagram stream or whatever. Oh my God, legendary!
He's got some juice to him. All right, no one can say otherwise. But yeah,
bitch.
his future is going to be fun.
He's a fun player.
And then this sets up another field goal. Yes, I clipped all the field goals.
Good from 58, 38, and good.
Because they were no doubters, right? He's nailing them. And this is so important heading into championship weekend here, into bowl games. It's so important to have a dependable kicker. And we were absolutely spoiled with Jake Moody. And it looked shaky to start. And we've already talked about James Turner, but man, just huge. Can't overstate how important those field goals were in this game. All right, back on defense here.
Over the top. First down at the 47. Henderson to pistol back. Play fake. McCord winds up. Sideline. Back shoulder.
This is the best game of Julian Fleming's career. I don't think he had the career that he was expecting. I thought he would have been a better player as well, but he had a hell of a game. He'll get drafted. So just because I'm saying that he didn't have the Ohio State career that I was expecting, he also had a lot of injuries that kept him from being that, top wide receiver recruit that he was in the, I think, 2018 class. This is great coverage from Rod Moore. This is a tough route. After the motion, you have a little sort of delay right here, and then he heads up the sideline again. This is a really good job from Rod Moore on coverage. Does this extremely well. That's a tough job against Julian Fleming. He's in phase here. That's just a great throw. Not bad coverage. You can see Rod Moore gets his hand in between the hand here. So, people will say that Kyle McCord isn't it. He might not be Heisman level, but there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the country that are making that throw. And that's good coverage from your safety. He does about as well as you can expect there. Margins are so slim for that pass to be completed, and they just happen to make that play. So it's a hat tip, another hat tip for the Cyborgs. Like, what else are you going to do? Low snap here, play action. You only have 4 rushing here, really, and this is a relatively quick pass. So I don't even think there's really anything to mention in the pass rush. This is seemingly where the eyes of McCord are the entire play. They like that matchup, Julian Fleming on Rod Moore. It's good coverage, just almost an impossible pass to defend against.
Yeah, at this point, obviously no more Will Johnson. So
Yeah.
Rod Moore kind of moves into a Dax Hill type role where he's going to be the safety that can also flex into the nickel while Sainer still has moved outside. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad play by Moore in coverage. But of course, right? It's just
cyborgs.
What's funny is even if I want to argue he bobbled it a little bit, watch what he does with his leg before he goes down. Watch this. Boom. That's such a smart play, dude.
Right. Ooh, that knee might have touched.
Maybe, but still.
Even so, I think it's still a catch. But yeah. Crazy.
Johnson lines up with McCord. McCord to Johnson. Big opening and a first down for the Buckeyes.
One of the best play calls of the day for the Buckeyes. You don't expect them to be motioning out Travion Henderson wide out, and then you're bringing in Xavier Johnson into the backfield. I don't know how many handoffs they gave Xavier Johnson.
Every time he's out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you got to know what's coming when he's on the field, but
that's fair. I think it's just smart, and Michigan gets caught in a pass look, right? You're feigning a lot of guys blitzing. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're dropping off into a zone look. So 2 of the guys at the line of scrimmage are dropping back. This is Junior Colson. I think this is Derek Moore, maybe Josiah Stewart. I can't really tell. And they're breaking away from that. And then you have a stunt up front. I think I have another angle here that shows a little better. So you have a stunt up front that really opens up just parting of the seas here. Parting of the seas. So this is just an offensive play call that beats the look for Michigan. And you almost have it. It's almost a great play here for Josiah Stewart. So it must have been Derek Moore going out to the flat here. Josiah Stewart almost gets off that block of 75 and makes the tackle. He just is off a little bit. And then you do have Grant, I think, who is saying he was held maybe a little bit. I'm not sure what he's doing at the end of this play. He's kind of holding his arms up like he got held. But anyway, it's a good play call. Good play call. Sometimes you get got. And the motion, I feel like, played with Michigan a little bit, and they had a pressure look into, dropping back into zone coverage, and it came back to bite him.
Yeah, Colson just sells out hard for Stover there and turns his back to the play.
Yep.
So, 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, I don't remember which, but expecting a pass there and then bite on it hard. So
I do think one aspect of this that I don't know if Michigan talked to the refs or something, but I don't think it's legal to have a guy going in motion and going forward like Cade Stover is. From my knowledge, you have to be running horizontal. And I feel like Michigan has gotten away with this at times with Roman Wilson, because they like Roman Wilson going across the line, then he'll head up, right? And you have to time that really well, because if you start heading up, that's illegal motion, right? This isn't arena football or Canadian football where you can just run forward at the snap, whatever. So if you watch the path here for Cade Stover, he is running not horizontal to the line of scrimmage, right? He's heading forward there. So he does get away with a little bit of that. Now, will that get called? Probably not, right? But technically isn't allowed. So anyway, they'll never call that, but this is more, good play call. Josiah Stewart almost gets that to set up a 4th and 1, and Ryan Day never goes for it on 4th and 1, but regardless, first down for Ohio State. 2nd and 10 here.
McCord will let it fly over the middle. Caught. Harrison, touchdown.
We saw this last night. And Michigan got burned. This was the play where Michael Barrett almost intercepted the pass down the seam to Cade Stover. The difference here is there has to be a pass off that you would expect out of Josh Wallace here for him to drop off and pick this up, because you see a pass off from Jaden McBurrows over to this has to be Rod Moore here.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking what this is supposed to be: pass off here to Rod Moore. Rod Moore picks this up, and then Jay McBurrows is identifying this to pick this up. You pass this off if you're Josh Wallace, right? You pass this off. You stay here for anything that's crossing, and then Jay McBurrows picks this up, and you possibly also pick this up immediately if you are Junior Colson. So this is very complex. So executing all this sort of pass off and knowing when and who's going to pass it off, right? Like, it's very difficult to do. But when you have two guys guarding the same route here and you're ending up with Junior Colson on Marvin Harrison Jr. on a crossing route, I can't imagine this is part of the plan. Can't imagine that. So is this Colson Loveland's fault? I mean, he sees...
He did it again. You called him...
What am I saying? That's Junior Colson.
That's so funny.
I don't know what is in my head about that. 2 days now. Junior Colson. Is it his fault? Maybe, right? Maybe. But I also feel like part of the defense is to pass this off, and you have Josh Wallace helping out Junior Colson on the crossing route, because you're fighting a losing battle. I can't imagine they would expect Junior Colson to be able to do that appropriately. This isn't a Don Brown defense, right? They're not setting up their players to be unsuccessful in that way. But give Ohio State credit. They learned from an earlier play that this is something that they could go back to, and they did so at a good time. So give them credit. They took advantage of it.
The body language of Cade Stover once he gets close to the end zone makes me think he knew his only role on this play was to bring defenders with him.
Yeah.
Like, he's got no interest in thinking he's going to get this. He sees Marvin. He knows exactly where that ball's going. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, they cleared it out and made the space. I felt like I just saw it coming a mile away as soon as he started dragging across the middle. Like you said, it was taking advantage of a previous play. And that's what good coordinators do. They call back on previous things that they've learned, right? So
yep.
It was just a matter of time until they made the play call, and it was the perfect moment. So
it was. All right, now we got this is the game. And I clipped a lot of plays from this because this is literally the game. How can Michigan respond to that? You're up 3. You got 6 minutes on the clock. You drive down the field here and burn clock. You keep the ball out of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hands, right? You burn clock. That's what this is all about.
The college football playoffs. On the ground.
And this is really where your strength and conditioning comes down to. Fourth quarter. And this is where the lack of rotation for Ohio State, I think, was a difference as well. Mm-hmm. How are they going to be able to respond to Michigan just running over guys at this point? So really great, just mauling double team, especially on the interior. This was Trent Jones coming into this game.
We talk about Trent Jones, man.
Just demolishing. Watch that double team. He gets moved into a linebacker here. Like they are getting a double team just through this single double. It gets all the way out here. That's what creates this play. It's also a great block here from Keegan on his pull. Good enough job there from Colson Loveland coming across. He could have done a little bit better. He's the first one through here on Eichenberg. He could have done a little bit more. But he gets enough to create a crease there for Blake Corum. So that's big. Again, first down. You got to pick up a couple yards here. Michigan gets 5. That's huge. 5 or 6 yards. That sets them up extremely well. And then you probably, I didn't even notice this, but Roman Wilson was battling these guys out here. He was being a little pest. And remember last year, he's the one who got his helmet taken off at the end, like towards the tail end of the game. Maybe it was 2021.
21, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like he can get under guys' skin, especially at the end of these games when it comes in these man ball situations.
Definitely got under the skin of the DB coach over it.
Seriously. But I feel like that's what he wants. And if they really want to call hands in the face right here, you could have done it, right? So you're talking about these are the sort of little things that if you're mentally tough, different ways you can get inside the head and frustrate a defense. And this was Michigan with Trent Jones, Carson Barnhart stepping up big. You got a lot of blocks really carrying through. This is where your strength and conditioning really comes into play on this drive. And that's a great way to set it up on first down. And then here we go.
But Edwards, both in the game, in the backfield. And they'll give it to Edwards. And Edwards will spin forward and pick up a first down as he.
Tough run. I thought this could have been a big opportunity to possibly keep here for JJ McCarthy. It looks like he's reading number 7 here on the outside. Looks like this is where the read is. I think there could have been opportunity to keep, but he does. It's a tough battle. I don't know if he actually wins that foot race. His momentum is kind of stationary. He kind of hops inside here initially. But I think it's probably the right move to give. It's probably a higher percentage. 7 isn't adding himself into the box. He's staying here. So you're counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 5, 6, 7. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you got even numbers here because he's not flinging himself here. So that's what the eyes do for you. Eliminates this guy from really being a part of the blocking scheme. Key blocks here. Trevor Keegan, great pull. You mentioned one of his best games. I didn't know that. I need to pay more attention to the stock report. Go over to MichiganRivals.com, people, because Trevor will tell you these things. Gets a good block on the outside. And then Khalil Mullings, one of his most underrated aspects is as a lead blocker. Talk about Max Bredesen, how great he is. Khalil Mullings can take out guys, and he is a load. He's a big guy, 6'1", 6'2", at like 230 or something. He gets great movement. This play doesn't go where it goes without some great blocks to the inside. Right? We can't even really see what's going on from this angle. We don't have a better angle. So this is number 1, creating that crease. Really great pull and kick out block there. But then Khalil Mullings gets movement, right? It sets the motion of this play. And I actually lied. I think I do have a better angle of this play. I did lie. So really good job on the outside, caving this down. Again, guess who? Barner. There's your block. And then watch just the momentum after this initial contact there for Mullings. Boom. Creates that, right? Number 22 is on ice skates now. You're on ice skates, and there you go. That's what you need. That creates an extra 2-3 yards because of that momentum Mullings had on that first contact. So, Mullings hasn't had a whole lot of carries lately, but this is tremendous value that he's bringing to this team by being in that play. So great job. And again, this is where you're just demoralizing the defense. Your best offense or your best defense is keeping Ohio State's offense off the field, and Michigan's continuing to do that.
I love Mullings when they have 2 backs in.
Yeah,
because again, he had more than 6 yards of carry this year. And it's not like fluky either. He looks really good when he's running the ball, but then he's also, like you said, a fantastic lead blocker. Whether it's Bredesen or even, I think about like how Eric All was used back in 21 as well. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Obviously there's potential transfers, whatever, but he's got an RB1-2 kind of role on this team next year.
Yeah.
He's looked really good in the moments they've called on him. And that's just
his time is coming. His time is coming. And this year isn't his time. In terms of what guys you hope to hang on to when it comes to offensive playmakers, it's Samaj Morgan and Khalil Mullings, 1A and 1B. And I'm not even thinking about JJ McCarthy because I don't want to think about him potentially leaving yet. But you know what I mean? Any of the running back, wide receiver types. Those guys
we've just talked about unsung heroes all year, and he's just another one. So
absolutely. All right, moving on here, 2nd and 6.
McCarthy rolls, looks across his body. Wow.
Terrifying.
Awful.
Holy cow. Life flashed before my eyes. Really, really terrifying play here. One thing here, coming off the edge, this is a hell of a block from Colson Loveland because, yes, it disrupts this route. You're supposed to leak here if you're Colson Loveland. But he takes out this defensive end that opens up this play in a big way. Big way. Really good job. Because that guy had potential to break up this play in a big way, right? If you don't get that, then where does JJ McCarthy go? He has to cut up here. You have guys who can potentially rush and break this up before the play even develops. So that's a good job from Colson Loveland, at least taking him out, right? He probably isn't an option anymore because of that, but he at least left this play a little bit open as a result. What are people saying here? Roman. Why are we saying Roman?
Thinks he's
they're saying he has to hit this out quicker. I mean, I don't know. Can we really see if he's open here? Because there's an out route, but he got Denzel Burke over the top. So I don't think this is going to be there. You can see number 10 here kind of baiting it. It looks like a little bit. Like right about here. Like, are you really hitting that? I don't see where that would be open. So anyway, I don't know what the best option here is. Right. I don't know what the best option here is.
In that situation, like, you tell every quarterback ever, never do that. But I mean, he does put it in a spot where only CJ can grab it.
That's it. And give credit
and
to
CJ catches it. Another great play. But oh my God, I'm having Brett Favre Vikings Saints game moment flashback.
Seriously.
Like that's the one thing you can't do.
Yep.
Is turn the ball over here, and
that's terrifying. But what a catch.
It's a great
catch. I mean, this is it is terrifying, but it's a really good job of gearing down. And then, I mean, that is tough.
It's a good throw, man.
It is a great throw, but to come down with that and not have the ball touch the ground there, that's exceptional. And
I didn't realize
huge play.
I didn't realize how much he bobbled that.
Yeah, it came off his hands initially, and then he secures it to his chest to do that while falling. And then make sure his elbows, right, are
hold on. Is that an elbow or a football?
old one elbow, two bald Cornelius Johnson, as we know him. But yeah, man, that's huge because that is what, 2nd and 6, and that sets up a 3rd and 1. Huge.
Keeps
one of the biggest plays of the game. So he doesn't have all the stats, right? He doesn't have all the stats this year. Doesn't have the touchdowns, but when he was needed to make some really difficult catches in this one, he made them. Mm-hmm. And he was the benefactor of a lot of the scramble drills in this game, where it had been Roman Wilson, I feel like, for most of this year. These were some of like the more sloppy, not big, like touchdown resulting plays, but they kept drives alive. And that was huge for this game. And then 3rd and 1, who are you going to?
Corum. He'll get it, and a first down, Michigan.
There's just no fear in how he runs the ball, and I love it. He's a bowling ball. And look at that wedge. Look at how much movement that your center is getting, that Keegan is getting. These guys are moving bodies, right? They're trying to throw themselves into the line of scrimmage. These guys are already past the first down marker. And Blake Corum sees this. He just throws himself into the back of that because that's all you can do, right? Just throw yourself in there. But look at that. I feel like previously you're hoping that you get a yard against this front, right? And you have 2 downs to get a yard. At this point, I was like, we might just burn this clock out because you're getting 3-4 yards on this wedge that this defense is just getting demoralized each and every time that you're doing this. So it's not bad defense, right? It's just they're getting tired. And Michigan just is playing inspired, just grind our way out football right here. So that's great. That's great. Can't do much better than that.
Well, and go back to the 4th down pass to Loveland that we showed yesterday, right? They're not all up on the line. They're playing back a little bit.
Right.
Even though you think this is obviously going to Blake Corum, they've at least told them there's a chance we're not going to.
Right.
Right. And they've played off just enough that allows the offensive line to get that push. And we've already talked about it. This is the toughness, the physicality, the entire season of rotation and depth. This is everything they've built for. Right. And Ohio State's getting pushed around.
Yep. You're putting it all into this drive. 1st and 10 here.
Corum again outside. Corum looking for the first down. Stays in bounds.
So smart.
Yeah, smart. It's still outside 2 minutes, so I don't know the rules. If it hits 2 minutes, would the clock stop? I'm not exactly sure.
Until the ball's set, yeah. So when 2 minutes hits, it goes back to the previous clock rules where clock stops on first down until the ball's set.
Yeah. Now, the one thing, and this is like insane game theory that I wouldn't expect Blake Corum to do here. But at this point, if you go down like here,
a yard short,
it would have been next level. Right, it would have been next level.
You get the extra play to add onto the first down, and
because then it's 2nd and 1. Because at this point, Ohio State hasn't burned any of their timeouts, and you got all 3 of them. So 2nd and 1, that's the most uncomfortable time for a defense to be calling a timeout against this offense of Michigan. So I do feel like the game probably would have been over, but you can't. It's really difficult to expect your running back to do that.
I think you can go down instead of scoring.
Yeah.
But going down instead of getting a first down, that might have been a little.
It's kind of crazy. But you do see that thought of him like, I'm staying in bounds here.
Yep.
So he has the awareness to do that, and that's a great play. It was a great play to do that. The blocking here, it's just a good cut. It's just a good cut, and nothing special in terms of blocking. I think all the way this is supposed to be an outside run. I think it is 100%. That's where it's told to be. There's no pulls here. It's straight up zone blocking. And I feel like he was instructed, threaten the inside here and then bounce. Boom, get outside. And it's good blocking. So it doesn't take a whole lot for this play to be successful. This is just Blake Corum being Blake Corum. And when you consistently go up the middle, you can sometimes just catch him in a little bit of a lull. And I feel like that's what this play was attacking just a little bit here. So they needed their linebackers to be aggressive. They're throwing themselves into the line of scrimmage here before they're actually reading, right? And that allows this edge to form for Blake Corum. So it's a great pickup, right? And you continue to get, now you're in field goal range after this play. And that's huge. That's huge. And you get a fresh set of downs here. All right, moving in here. Now it's third down. And this is, I feel like, one of the few mistakes. Michigan ran the ball, I think, up the middle a couple of times here. You have more creativity because Ohio State already called a timeout here. I think it's worth it trying to go for the win. I don't feel like this play call necessarily was going for the win necessarily.
In the backfield. Corum running it, trying to jump cut. He will not pick up the...
So to me, I would rather do something like an end around or something that doesn't risk a turnover, but still, you can lose, get back to the 30 and probably trust your kicker a little bit, right? So I can understand not wanting to throw the ball because you can get points, right? That's a big swing. I do think you probably say, hey, if it's a gray read, keep it. I don't know exactly who JJ McCarthy is reading here. It's conceivable that there might be a crease to the outside, but you do have a couple players here that will be able to react to anything to the outside here. So anyway, I just think this was an all out for Ohio State. They sold out in the run and they sold out appropriately. So I think it's tough to say that the bootleg here, the keep for JJ McCarthy would have 100% been open because all these guys, right, they're reacting to this give. And that's why you see all of this motion here. And that's why if you move just a couple frames here, right, 1, 2, 3, boom, then it looks way more open, right? It looks way more open, I think, to the outside. You're like, oh, look, he has the outside shoulder here. And, oh, these guys are committing to this. But if he's actually keeping here and he has the ball, you see a path here for the defenders. You really do. So I don't think it's as open as it looks immediately. So anyway, I think it was the appropriate gamble here for Ohio State just to say it's going to be a run. And they guessed appropriately here. So anyway, now they're out of timeouts, right? So you do get some value. There is some value in ensuring that you're burning that timeout. Is it the right call? I'm kind of on the fence about it. I wish we had more creativity, a play that would stick to the ground, maybe a little bit more frippery. You can lose a couple yards and still force that timeout and still probably have a really high percentage field goal. So a little bit more creativity while still on the ground, I think would have been my recommendation. Do something with Orji, right? Do something different here. But again, that's just my take.
I wonder how much the JJ throw to CJ.
Oh, good point.
Plays into the mindset here if they've made Sherrod more nervous at this point,
Yep.
So yeah, because obviously first down ends the game. So and look, he's been aggressive multiple times in this game.
Yeah.
So it was kind of surprising. Like you said, you don't have to do something that puts the game at risk, the field goal at risk. Like there's things you can do that just gives you a better opportunity. But we've seen 3rd and medium and 3rd and long runs go for first downs, and we say what a great play call it is too, right? Like I always joke about that when, oh, the play calling's terrible. Like, no, you don't like the results, right?
Yeah.
Like if it would have been a first down, we would have said what a great call it was. So, but this is kind of a different situation though, where it felt like you were just kind of like, all right, we're gonna take the field goal and bet on our defense to not give up a touchdown in a minute.
Yep. All right, moving in, another field goal. Here we go.
Clean snap, good hole, got it away, and good.
And you know what? That gets you up 6, and that's a very different game here than.
Yeah, I didn't understand people saying they didn't think the field goal made sense. It absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
The field goal ties it since it's overtime.
Right.
And everything you've done for 4 quarters doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
Right. So I love kicking the field goal versus going for it or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just saw some narrative out there that the field goal didn't do anything. I'm like, it absolutely did. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it did. All right. And I really was confused at why, they took the kickoff out, right? You burn like 9 seconds, whatever it was, and you don't get back to the 25.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where trust your special teams. Trust your special teams if you're Michigan. And they did a kick that, didn't get all the way to the end zone, one of those higher kickoffs. It baited them into returning it. And I've almost never seen someone who actually takes a kickoff actually get back to the 25-yard line. So a little bit of hero ball, I think, on that potential return, trying to make a big moment there for Ohio State. Burned some time off the clock, and you lost 6 yards as a result.
McCord looking over the middle, caught at the 40.
So a couple things here. With the defense Michigan is playing, a traditional corner is probably giving up just the short yardage here to Cade Stover. This is why it's annoying to continually give up these like 6-yard gains or 8-yard gains or whatever. Because in this situation with 0 timeouts, you give that up. You let your tight end or let your linebacker go up and get that. And I think the issue here is Sainer still is playing sort of a bracket coverage here, and he's playing a little bit too heavy on that tight end. He's not able to get back and appropriately get coverage on that. Now he's trying to fight for the ball. One thing about this, good job keeping them in bounds. That doesn't allow them to set up, take some time. They have to get up to the ball quickly. So that's one thing. I don't love the coverage here, but at least at the end of the play, they're thinking about that, right? Don't let them get out of bounds. Great pass rush on this. You get pressure to them. And this is where Michigan's strength is starting to show. These are no doubt passing situations. They're not going to run the ball. So you can bring out all of your best stunts. You have your best pass rushers out on the field. Mason Graham just absolutely bullies his way between the center and guard. He's exceptional. He's exceptional. Now look at him just fight his way through. He moves so fast for a guy that size. It's terrifying. It's literally like a Glasgow who took like a Super Mario Brothers mushroom and is just the big version, fast version of him. And Derek Moore is winning on the edge as well. He's beating Josh Fryer. It's crazy. Am I crazy to think that Josh Fryer got beat a ton in this game, but he was still the first team All Big Ten?
Even Ohio State people were shocked that Fryer was first team.
He got cooked on that play and a lot of plays. So anyway, good pressure here. This is a throw kind of off his back foot, and it's a good throw. Just not the best coverage. I think Sainer still's a little bit at fault there, but hey, keep him in bounds, right? There you go. Okay, moving into 2nd and 10 here.
McCord.
Why did I just do the same play twice?
Looking over the middle, caught at the.
Just wanted to show you the same play, apparently. What? How did I have that same play twice? All right, anyway. What did I even do here? Okay, I see what I messed up.
So you don't have the actual broadcast of the throw to Fleming?
I do.
Okay.
I think I do. Give me a second here. I think I just met. Nope, I don't. Give me a sec. Okay, that's the actual play. Okay, so yeah, I don't have the actual broadcast of the play to Fleming. I do have the slowed down version. So let me shift things around here. I apologize, but we do have the actual throw to Fleming here. Not bad coverage for Josh Wallace here. I think he's actually doing a pretty good job on this. And if this is any other play, you give him a ton of credit because he punches this ball out. And I do think this was probably a catch. It's really close because if you watch it in real time, it's pretty close, right? Has he secured the catch here? He does take like 1 or 2 steps, but you can see he is kind of shifting the ball right here a little bit. So it's tough. And I'm curious your thoughts on that as well. But I'm kind of the mindset that if Emeka Egbuka isn't right there to recover it, Ohio State fans would be clamoring to say this is an incomplete pass. Right?
And the refs would have ruled it an incomplete pass.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah.
The only reason personally, the only reason I think they call this a catch is because of the Roman Wilson play.
I agree with that. They're trying to be consistent and say, you know what?
There's a difference between steps and football moves and your feet shuffling.
Yep.
Right. There's not a football move there, in my opinion. There's not a amount of possession and moving the ball to somewhere else. It stays in the same spot. It gets punched out. And I believe this 100% that if Michigan would have recovered it, there's no way they would have let that be the end of the game.
It's possible. So I don't disagree with that.
It's close. I don't think it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they called it a catch. I'm not saying that. But I really think knowing Michigan didn't recover it and the call means the end of the game, and then also the impact of the Roman Wilson touchdown makes them call this a catch.
Yep. But what a play from Josh Wallace, right? I feel like we're not talking about how good of a play it is because Emeka Egbuka happens to be there, right? But that's an exceptional play.
Right.
And that speaks a lot to these defensive backs and how they're coached from Kling scale. They don't give up on this. How many plays have we seen where guys are trying to pull in the ball and they come in and try to punch it out, or they actually successfully do? It goes back to last year last year with Stover in the end zone, right? And that play looked like it was going to be a catch to Stover, and you don't give up.
And honestly, he takes one step, really. If you look, the foot is down right here. There's one, or you could go a little further back, but he has a foot down when he gets in possession. The right foot, that's not a step. That's the first possession. One step, ball's out before the second step.
Yeah.
So there's this optics of, he took a bunch of steps, but really in terms of steps with possession, he only took one.
Yeah.
So
it's tough.
Hey, LeBron
really
LeBron takes 8 steps and it's not a travel. So what do I know?
and then you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Marvin Harrison, the wide receiver at the top of your screen. McCord looks, fires, intercepted. Rod Moore, and Michigan will win the game and head to the Big Ten championship.
What a play. What a play. Legendary play. And what did we say all year? I feel like every single episode of Cut Ups. Jalen Harrell, not the best pass rusher, makes the play against one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country. Bowls him over. And you got to give a ton of credit to Mason Graham, of course, because Mason Graham is a menace. And that's what is occupying the eyes here of the offensive lineman. He is terrified of this stunt, right? This stunt that's coming. And that allows Jalen Harrell to just bowl him over. I think we have a better angle of this. That is what is allowing this stunt to work because of how terrifying Mason Graham is. So give him a lot of credit. But then once you have this interior rush here, Jalen Harrell just bowls him over with authority, right? Bowls him over, continues on his path.
Hutch would be proud.
And boom, you get a hit. And that's what causes this play to happen. Mason Graham is also probably getting held here from the left tackle on his rush. Right there. You can see the left hand right on the numbers there. He's probably getting held, and he's still getting pressure. Just an exceptional play from those two to create that pressure, not make it comfortable for McCord. And then great recognition here for Rod Moore to recognize this. And he's looking here. He sees the eyes for McCord. He comes off of Egbuka and reacts to this quickly. And an exceptional job catching the ball. Now, one thing, Jalen Harrell took his helmet off, and I saw the flag late, and I was like, what the hell is this? Can't be doing that, right? And there was an exchange. I know he was made available to the media, and he said he texted coach and was like, my bad, coach. And coach was like, you beat me to it, whatever. So, like, he learned, right? And he said, I'm not going to make that mistake again. What a play here from Rod Moore. I can't tell you how many times that we've seen this sort of attempted catch and you're not getting your elbows under the ball. It's a no-doubter. And there was a BTN The Journey angle.
They had a really good angle.
Really great angle that even more solidified it. This is a no-doubter. No-doubter. Exceptional job getting his arms under.
There were Ohio State fans that were like, oh, I can't believe they didn't review it. They absolutely reviewed it. And then they came on the field and said confirmed.
They confirmed.
So I'm sorry you can't tell the difference between a black man's elbow and a football, you idiots.
This is one of my favorite angles ever because you got all these guys celebrating, right? And then you have the eyes here of McCord. Nothing against McCord. I think he's probably a great guy.
He played well.
Good football player. But the juxtaposition here, similar to the Quinton Johnson, right? Like take a picture of it and hang it up. I mean, this is game, right? Rod Moore called game. You released some shirts about it. Go buy one. But having the view here on your back, viewing the game-sealing interception, it's a beautiful picture. So anyway, exceptional play all around. And this is, how many times should we say it all year, Trevor? All year, that pressure, just because you don't get a sack, pressure creates opportunities for the defense to win games. This is it. These are the stunts. It didn't take a ton of frippery here. This is 4-guy rush against a 5-man line. You're actually keeping one in here to protect. It doesn't take a lot of bodies. It just takes perfect execution. And I feel like Michigan's been executing these stunts so well, and they're so dangerous across the defensive line to force these errant throws or to affect the pass in a way that your defense can take advantage of it. Exceptional.
And you said yesterday, if you ever see anybody show a freeze frame and circle and say like, oh, this is what would have happened, right? Yeah. This play, I've seen a lot of Ohio State fans like, oh, if the pressure hadn't got there, if Harrell would have hit him, it would have hit Marv for a touchdown. Absolutely not. I think Rod Moore's picking this ball off no matter what. He probably doesn't have to dive forward to get it. But like you said, he's read and diagnosed this play perfectly.
Right.
He's getting to that football.
He's making his movement here. This 100%. Momentum, because people are saying like, oh, this is thrown up here.
Wide open. Right? Yeah, Rod Moore's over here, guys, not over there. Like he's right. Yeah.
And it's like this is an in route. He's not just going to like take this into a flag route. This is being thrown right here. Rod Moore is already reacting to this pass. He'll at least meet Marvin Harrison here for an opportunity if it's a cleanly thrown ball. Listen, one thing about McCord, he's a really good collegiate quarterback. He locks in on Marvin Harrison. Locks in. He does. He has that tendency. And how can you not? Right? How can you not? So anyway, this is just multiple players, right? Jalen Harrell, I feel like one of the most unsung players on the team, coming up with a huge play. Mason Graham doing his thing all game, one of the best players on the field, and that's even including Marvin Harrison Jr. Dude's a legend. Rod Moore, Ohio kid, getting the final interception. Yeah. So many things here, man. So many things. Storybook ending to this game. And then we get the end of the call here.
Michigan defeats Ohio State 30-24 to remain undefeated and head to the Big Ten Championship.
Beautiful thing. There it is.
Crazy.
They did it.
It's just crazy.
They did it.
Oh, yeah. So, again, at the end of the day, I really felt like there wasn't anything too outrageous in this game. I felt like it was a lot of what we expected. Michigan had to shut down the outside run, and they did at moments. Ohio State was able to run up the middle, but over the length of the game, right? If I think it's so overdone at this point, but Joel Klatt's boa constrictor analogy, right?
That's it.
I don't know how many times we've talked about the number 30 about scoring 30 and keeping the other team under 30, that's when Michigan wins, right? And it's another example they were able to get to 30 points, right? So even against a team, because look, this is a really good football team. It is. And, we've picked on different players and we've made different comments and whatever. I continue to think Ryan Day, with the lack of aggressiveness, no fourth down plays, the letting the clock run in the end of the first half, and even the touchdown drive before this one, there didn't seem to be any sense of urgency. So Michigan gets the ball back with 7 or 8 minutes left, allowing them to drain the clock down to a minute, right? Like there was just a lot of moments where it was like the coaches just weren't doing enough to allow their players to go win a football game. And I think about with Urban Meyer, when they had a guy like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, even though they weren't the top receivers yet, they were good enough that he knew they were going to get on a field for 1, 2, 3 plays because they could help you win a football game.
Yep.
Right. And they did. Chris Olave burst onto the scene with his couple of receptions in his first edition of the game. He wasn't a top receiver, but he's good enough that he can help you win. You got to get him on the field. And they just don't do that stuff anymore.
Yep.
Right. And they don't ride the hot hand. We talked about Trainum and even Xavier Johnson and not using these guys. Like Curtis Samuels was a dude that got used in that way, very much like Xavier Johnson was and should have been. But, Samuels was that guy in the past, where Michigan is letting Donovan throw the ball once because he's good at it. They're bringing in Alex Orji for their run, right? It's just been this complete role reversal. And I think, again, the biggest narrative we heard coming out of last year was, it's just 5 big plays. It's just 5 big plays. And we saw Ohio State adjust to kind of eliminate big plays in this game. And Michigan really hasn't been an explosive offense anyway. But that's not why you lost. Again, maybe it's why you lost by 22. Right. But it's just not why you lost the game. So here we are. Michigan, everything they've been through with the scandal and the suspensions and blah, blah, blah. Jim Harbaugh is back. There's no reason to expect anything to impact the rest of this season and the unfinished business that these guys came back for. Another Big Ten championship, a CFP berth, and then hopefully a CFP win, and then a run to a national championship all on the table. So this Iowa game obviously isn't going to be as good as it could be. We don't have the Cade McNamara and Eric All storyline. They are both injured. Their best player. Oh my God, why is his name not in my brain right now? This is crazy.
Their wide receiver?
No,
they're Cooper DeJean.
Yeah,
Cooper DeJean.
Thank you. Yes. Wow. I literally did an hour-long podcast with our Iowa Rivals partner today talking about Cooper. Excellent returner, good corner. Yeah. He's not going to be there. It's just a bummer, man. It is.
Yep.
Iowa's defense is really, really good. Their offense is historically terrible, especially with the injuries that they've had. So
they still have a great defensive backfield, one of the best back sevens that you'll face, but Michigan should be able to run the ball. They should. Yeah. And I mean, the goal is get up 10, get up 14.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Just run the game away. That's it. Just bleed it away.
I think we're going to be lulled to like a 30-3, 30-6 kind of win. And then hopefully, some backups get in. I want to see Orji get a quarter and throw 100%. The ball and whatever, right? Like some stuff like that. But yeah, this is one where, look, you win and you've got the Big Ten and you're definitely in the playoff. That Georgia is facing risk this week. Like there's a lot of chaos that could potentially happen. So you just got to win the game and get out, right?
Yep.
So I've seen people ask, Toski, I know we're almost at the cutoff here, but as far as the CFP goes and moving forward, what is your thoughts or outlook on who could be in, who could be out? And is there any matchup that you think either is advantageous or concerning?
I just don't see Michigan getting Florida State, even though that is like the best matchup for any teams in the top 4. Just don't see it because them keeping I thought there was a shot at Michigan getting the number 1 nod with the big win over Ohio State. Michigan is the only team with 2 top 10 CFP ranked wins in the
I
country.
think they
right
probably should have been 1.
Yeah.
But I think they know that as soon as Georgia beats Bama, they'd go back to 1 anyway. So I wonder if that was in play. Because if Georgia loses, then Michigan is 1.
Right.
Right.
So
but, yeah.
the only scenario that Michigan would really, I think, have a shot. Well, here's the thing. You need Georgia to lose, right, for Michigan to be number 1. If Georgia loses, then Florida State almost surely gets bumped up to number 3 in that case, because that would mean there's likely only 2 unbeaten teams. So you wouldn't see the 1-4 matchup against Florida State in that scenario. And I don't see a scenario where Florida State bumps up to number 3, because I think the only way is if Oregon beats Washington.
I think if Oregon beats Washington, they'll jump Florida State and end up at 3.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what they're going to do.
And I know people have said, oh, you're going to put 1-loss Oregon above undefeated Florida State. Yes, for 2 reasons. One, if you listen to Corrigan, whatever, last night, he's already downplaying Florida State with their backup QB.
Yeah.
So unless they have a Cardale Jones type moment where they go out and absolutely stomp Louisville, they're already setting the scene to downplay Florida State without Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Oregon's only loss of the year is to Washington on the road by 3 points,
right?
Which is basically a push, 3 points. So if they go and win by as much as they're expected, which I think is a 9.5 point spread right now, if Oregon avenges their loss and dominates Washington on a neutral site, they're going to treat Oregon like they're an undefeated team.
Right.
And move them to 3.
Yeah, that's an avenged loss. So I think if I'm Michigan, I think I would like to see Washington. I'll be rooting for Washington to probably win. I don't really against Bo Nix, because I think Michigan's strength is their defense and able to make things difficult on a quarterback. And I think Bo Nix is a good enough quarterback. I'm just thinking of like Aiden O'Connell, right, and how he was able to handle
Maryland a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And
Bo's much better than little Tua, but that's yeah.
So I'm trying to avoid those best quarterbacks, and quarterbacks that can diagnose NFL level defenses like Bo Nix are not the guys I want to go up against. I think Penix is good and he's still scary. So everyone's scary at this point, but if there's a team you have to choose, it's not going to be at FSU. It's probably Washington that you want. I honestly haven't watched enough Texas, but I don't see a way that Michigan really faces Texas. You need a lot more chaos, and I don't see that really happening. Maybe not, but I think Oregon's a little bit scarier than Washington, and that's why they're favored here.
I agree with the count 22. If Florida State wins big over Louisville, then I don't think you can drop them undefeated conference champion.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, if it's a close game and Oregon wins by a decent amount and avenges it, like they are not going to give Michigan, Florida State 2-3 and then make Georgia play Texas. They're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then also the people that make the most money from this, right, are the TV networks and then the bowls, right? Do you honestly think they're going to pass up a Michigan-Oregon Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
In the last version where there's any Pac-12 existence, and a Georgia-Florida State Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. They're not going
to passing that up. So
yeah, they're not going to pass it up.
Where it gets interesting is if Bama wins and Texas wins, and then obviously it doesn't really matter what happens with the Pac-12. The winner gets in there, right? But that fourth team, is it 1-loss Alabama SEC champion that just beat Georgia? Right. Or is it the team that gave them that 1 loss in Texas? And Texas got screwed because in the way Oregon can avenge their loss, because Oklahoma State came back and beat BYU, now they're playing Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. One, a team that has owned them recently. I think it's like 8 out of 10. Oklahoma State has beat Texas. And 2, they don't get to play Oklahoma and avenge the loss they had. So Texas put in a weird spot.
I really want it to be Michigan win, Florida State win, and then just chaos. I want Bama to just like slaughter Georgia,
slaughter them,
go crazy. Yeah. And then I want it to be like an insanely close game between Washington and Oregon where like Oregon barely wins on like a triple overtime or something. And then it's just like, what the hell do you do? It just creates chaos. And Texas,
I just want good football.
Texas destroys Oklahoma State as well. Could you imagine that? It would just be a crazy chaos. I want as much chaos. without Ohio State even
So I was gonna
breathing
say,
chance here.
Ohio State has one path,
Yeah.
and that's all of the one-loss teams have to lose. So Georgia beats Bama, Washington beats Oregon, and then you need Florida State to lose to Louisville, and then Oklahoma State beat Texas, and then Ohio State would get in. And I'm going to say this not as obviously just a Michigan person, but I did not like that Ohio State was allowed to sit at home while other teams had to risk, right? USC doesn't play the Pac-12 championship game and they're in. Right? Like it's just, that's crazy to me. So the fact that they can sit at home and all these other teams have to play these extra games, right? Like the idea Georgia could be out and Ohio State could get in a weird scenario. Well, no, because Bama would win. But anyway, you lost the game. You got to win to get in. And I saw Herb Street going off about Florida State getting in and how boring the semifinals have been. And you need to pick the 4 best teams. And like basically saying, let's ignore results.
Yeah.
Like we know Florida State's not one of 4 best. So but like what? Whenever in sports have we done that? Like where we care about, you want to go back to where you pick matchups, then fine. Let's go back to no championship game. We'll just go back to bowls and you can pick the bowls that you think will be the best matchups.
Right.
What are you talking about, man?
Yeah. He had a bone to pick. He had a bone to pick. It was, yeah.
And the irony, being an Ohio State graduate, fine. You remember Cardale Jones, like I just said, you went out and beat Wisconsin like 59-0. But what if they were like, yeah, that's the backup quarterback? What in the world?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and then, hey, as Michigan fans, I almost feel uncomfortable even having this conversation because we were all pretty stoked when Michigan drew TCU last year.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, they go and get smoked by Georgia. So what? They earned it. They earned the right to get their ass kicked.
Yep.
Okay. And
they got there.
And the 9-7 New York Giants beat the greatest NFL team of all time, the undefeated Patriots, and won the Super Bowl. And nobody went, well, hey, they're actually the better team, though. Like, we're not going to give it to the Giants, right? Like, ugh. Anyway, yay, 12-team expanded playoff. I can't wait.
I'm on the fence about it. I would have liked to see 6 or 8. I'm not against the expansion. I'm not against it, but the
reason I'm pro 12 is it makes it where these conference championship games actually matter.
That's fair.
That's my thing. And you get kind of a fun situation where if Louisville beat Florida State, they're in the playoff.
Yeah.
And potentially have a bye.
Right.
So it'll be kind of a fun little element like you have with basketball. But I'm sure there's going to be a year where something stupid happens. I'm like, never mind, go back. I don't like this.
And it's always fun. You're right. It's always fun talking about these scenarios. But then like you go back to 2014, right, where you did have the 59-0 like I think Wisconsin was favored in that game, right? So
they were too, yeah.
You cannot predict what's going to happen because we can all say like, okay, Alabama, wins a close game over Georgia. If Alabama waxes Georgia, throw out everything that we even said because that just demolishes the entire picture. It's going to be crazy. So,
and in that scenario, they'll get in over Texas. And you'll have people screaming about, well, they beat them head to head. It's like, yeah, but the whole resume and it's going to be gross.
So everything up until this point in the rankings, I truly believe is just what's the term? The whatever and pony show. It's just a show. It's to get people
the rankings.
Yeah. They don't mean
pointless.
anything.
It's so
they don't
pointless.
mean anything.
Yeah. No, and then them trying to explain it's even worse.
Yeah. They don't. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
You can't justify because you use logic for one team, but not for the other, and blah blah blah.
Yeah. So, when do you get into town? You're going to the game
Saturday morning. We'll be there at like noon Saturday morning, and then we're staying overnight Saturday. So it sounds like I'm going to be a busy boy though. I have a call tomorrow with the actual national rivals team and Yahoo. It sounds like they want me to do like some national coverage. So
look at this guy. Okay,
I know, I'm a little anxious, a little nervous because. This might be a real full-on working weekend, boys.
There you go, buddy.
Okay. So that leads right into, look, we are going to have this covered, right? So Brock and I will be there. As you've probably heard, Josh is going to be flying in on a private jet and checking out the game as a spectator. So, but yeah, we'll have the Big Ten championship covered 100%. Obviously, we'll have an episode of Cut Ups and Hail to the Podcast and all the usual. And then, of course, all week, the recruiting news has been rolling out and a lot of intel leading in. So make sure you're over at michigan.rivals.com and getting access to that. If you're not a subscriber already, we would love for you to join the community. If you want to give us a shot and you missed out on our awesome Black Friday promo, you can use Blue 30, which will always get you the first month free. So you can at least get us a shot or just take advantage of this very, very, very important month. Obviously, that's coming up for Michigan. Otherwise, yeah, if you're here on YouTube, you're not watching us live, make sure you're liking, subscribing, and doing the notification bell so you do know when we go live with cut-ups. Hail to the podcast on Sunday. Sometimes Toski just feels like grabbing a beer and coming on here and hanging out with you guys too. So it's always good to make sure you get notifications when we go live. Otherwise, that's 4 hours, Toski, of Michigan and Ohio State film breakdown and conversation. A blast, man.
Yes.
Absolute blast. So I don't think I've said enough this year. So thank you for letting me cut into your world that you are the goat of and allowing me to be a part of this with you. I really appreciate it. It's
lovely having you, man.
I look forward to. So
it's been great.
And then, of course, all of you guys, again, I see a lot of familiar names. Good seeing you guys every week, as always. Keep joining us. Love the conversation you're having in there and the comments you make. And you're always good about making fun of us a little bit, like Derek.
Absolutely. Junior Colson Loveland.
Junior Colson Loveland. Can you imagine if you put those guys together? That'd be a freak. That'd be a freak player right there. Anyway, for now, boys, that's the end of Cut Up's film review. We'll see you on Saturday from Indianapolis and the Big Ten championship game, Michigan versus Iowa. Have a good one.